All right, folks. See a few of you jumping in here, so I appreciate you being here with us. We're gonna wait just another minute or two. Obviously, give everybody a little chance to jump on here, but I don't want to wait too long because this is we're gonna cover a lot. I'm gonna warn you a couple times here. We're gonna move pretty quickly, but this is literally bleeding, cutting edge type stuff. This is something that I have not seen any agent really across the entire country doing yet. Probably because it is a little technical. And so I'm going to be showing you today basically a process that I've developed over the past month or two to use AI as a lead magnet. So I'll go over kind of what that means. I'm going to give you an overview of how to do it. It is going to be technical though, right? And I'll also give you some ideas on where you can kind of dig in a little deeper and learn how to do this yourself. Or potentially, I have a couple kind of openings to work with a few folks to build these forums. So as we're kind of waiting for everybody to get on here, give another minute or so. As always, if you want to jump down to the chat, let me know where you're tuning in from. And then I'm also curious, what have you done with AI so far? If it's nothing, that's okay. I'm happy to hear it. We're always happy to help you learn for the first time. But if you are using ChatGPT, maybe you've written some listing descriptions, social media posts, I'm just sort of curious what let's say the experience level that we're dealing with here today, right? So I'll take a look in the chat and see what everybody's responding to us, right? But again, if you want to let us know where you're tuning in from, as more people are hopping on here, and then what you've done with AI so far, that's something that would be very helpful for me as we are getting started. So yeah, we will be recording as always. So let's see, we got Denver, Colorado, we got Alabama tuning in. Played a little with ChatGPT, right? Okay, I think a lot of people are kind of in that place, and we are going to be working a little bit with ChatGPT here today. So if you have a little familiarity there, it's probably a good thing. Let's see, we got California, New York. Again, ChatGPT, use it often. Cool. Yeah, if you got any specific use cases, I'd love to hear them. What are you finding it's most useful for? That's something that obviously we can learn from here. So Virginia, only a little. We got New Jersey on here with us. All right, cool. So we got folks from as is typical, sort of both sides of the country. I'm based here in the St. Louis, Missouri area, so I'm right in the middle between most of you. All right, using it for social media scripts, emails. All right, great. That's awesome, right? That's what we're really aiming to do to get things started here. So all right, well, we're going to get rolling because we have a lot to cover, and I want to make sure I'm able to show as much of this to you as possible. So let me first start off by saying, again, another warning. I know a few more of you have joined since I said this originally. There are going to be some technical things that you will see here in the next 40 minutes or so, all right? You might not be able to follow along with all of them. I'm actually developing a course that teaches you how to do all of this and obviously sort of spreads it out over many different classes. If you're interested in that, I can share info on it later. But I really want you just to get an overview because surprisingly, I'm not a technical person either. I mean, I have a little background. I studied engineering for the first part of college. I was one of those folks that switched into the business school after a while. So I've seen some code before. I've got a little exposure to it. But I was able to do this without knowing how to write any code at all. All right. So I did not write any of this code in order to build these tools. Let's start here. I'm going to start typing into the few tools you see here on the screen. And if you saw the promotions we were doing for this, you may or may not have understood what you were going to see here today. So what you're seeing on your screen is what I would call a real estate AI lead magnet. So the idea here is ultimately very, very simple. What we're going to do is we're going to build a basic AI tool that does just one thing. The cool thing about ChatGPT is it does a billion things, right? I mean, it can literally do almost anything you can imagine. You just sit down, you talk to it, and you see what is capable of, and it's capable of quite a bit. These tools are built on the same technology. So we're using the Open AI API system, which just basically means that we're able to write a little bit of code and then access all that same kind of technology that you're using when you use ChatGPT, right? So you're going to see the responses you see here are going to probably feel just like you're talking to ChatGPT, and that's the point. So you might say like, okay, well, what's the point here, right? Well, the idea is that when you give someone something specific, it simplifies the process for them, right? So just because they can go to ChatGPT and do this, I will tell you right now, I've talked to a lot of folks. Most of them still have not even tried to use ChatGPT. They are not early adopters, right? So you, if you have, are an early adopter. You're one of those people that got out there and started using this right away. Most folks have not, and even those that have, they are still going to be interested in a simplified version. So that's what we're doing here. We're giving them a tool that does just one thing. We're going to give it to them for free. We're going to pay for it on the back end ourselves. It's surprisingly affordable. This is part of why I decided to go down this path and develop these tools. I was shocked at how affordable this ultimately is. And so ultimately, we're going to give this away, and in exchange, we're going to collect their contact information, right? So let's start here. I'm going to show you how these tools work, and then we're going to go through some steps that you could go through yourself to build your own version, right? Now, this is the possibilities here are endless. There's all kinds of different things you could build. Now, what I did to start out is I built these 3 simple tools. The first one is we call it a neighborhood matchmaker. Okay, so basically the idea is that we're going to input some information, and I'll just sort of show you as I go here. So I'm going to put in St. Louis, Missouri. You can list out amenities that you're looking for. So I'd say like, a fun nightlife, good restaurants, let's say, big parks. That's a nice one. And then below that, we have neighborhood type. Now, this one, some cities are going to have, for instance, beachfront property. There's no beachfront property in St. Louis. We do have a couple big rivers here. I don't know that you want to live on those, though, right? And that's certainly not right along them there. So we're going to say, let's go with suburban in this case. And then we also have an option for how far from those amenities are you willing to be, right? Do you want to be right next to them within walking distance? Can you drive a little bit? We'll say a short drive. So the idea here is we put this on our website, right? This lives on a landing page. It lives on a page on your website. It's embeddable code. So you just copy code, you put it on your site, and you're done. Again, you don't have to write any of that. And then what you do is you just tell everybody you can, hey, I've got this really cool tool. It's going to help match make you with the perfect neighborhood for the types of things you're looking for, right? If you're looking for whatever you want, you can just sort of talk to it, and it's going to give you a recommendation on where you might want to live, right? Now, that might be helpful for somebody who's moving across town. It might be helpful for somebody who's moving into town, right? So people that are going across country, not sure quite where to live. I mean, imagine how useful this would be. The point, though, is it's not going to give them everything, right? It's not going to replace you. It's just something fun to get the ball rolling. They're going to use it once or twice, which means your costs are really, really low. And then look what it says at the bottom there, right? So when we put this information in, it recommends the Central West End, Clayton, and Kirkwood. Now, I know I'm from St. Louis. If any of you are too, you recognize those are 3 places that do actually exist in St. Louis. And then it has just a short description of why those neighborhoods, those areas match that particular input, right? Now, here's the important part to notice is look at the bottom here. Look at this line. It says, by the way, I would recommend working with Nick Niehaus. That just happens to be my name, right? From ABC Realty, if you're considering buying a home this year, text him at, the typical 555. This is a demo, so obviously it doesn't have my actual contact information in it. But that's going to pop up in this tool every single time. So the idea behind this is you put this on your website and then you just promote it wherever you can. You go to your lender partners, you go to, other businesses in town that might find something like this kind of fun to share with their customers, and you hopefully get many, many, many people to come and try it. Now, there's 2 options from there. I'm going to show you one version of it, which is in this case, I actually have a form at the bottom of the page. Now, this is my demo page, so it would say something slightly different if you set it up. But the form down here would say, hey, if you found a neighborhood that you'd like to learn more about, maybe you want to see some listings in that neighborhood, maybe you want to just sort of get a chance to ask some questions about what it's like to live there, fill this form out. We'll have a conversation, right? That's a good lead. That's a qualified lead. That's somebody's thinking about potentially moving, maybe not tomorrow, but that's somebody you can follow up with. You're going to have a very good chance of turning into a customer. That's one way you can do this, right? If you do that, you're not going to get a ton of leads, but they're going to be really high quality. The other way to do it is before you ever get them this tool, you just put an opt-in form in front of it. Right? So instead of going straight to the neighborhood AI matchmaker, I go to a landing page with a form right there in the middle, or you can even use Facebook ads, Google ads as well. And you can just have that form right there. They fill it out and then you send them this link, right? So it depends on if you do a lot of email marketing or not. If you're a big email marketer, I would get their email first and then market to them from there. If you're not an email marketer, if you don't have a database you can work, you just put this on your site and you have that form at the bottom, right? So that's one example. And again, remember, this part at the bottom here is basically always guaranteed to show up. It's part of the code on the back end. I'll show you that here in just a minute. Next, we have another example, which is a home marketing assistant. Now, this one is a little more catered to somebody who's thinking about selling their house. And so we want to come in here and say, what are the big details? What are the things that we want to highlight about the home? Let's say a large yard, and then lots of kids in the neighborhood. I don't know, whatever you want. I mean, that's what's kind of cool here is you can put literally whatever you want into this. Now, if you try to discriminate or doing that kind of stuff, it's usually going to recognize that and say, hey, I can't give you recommendations based on that. But, I was just messing around with this the other day, and I literally put it has a dungeon in the basement inn as one of the features. And it actually gave some creative recommendations on how to make the dungeon less creepy. It was like, some people might like having a dungeon, but most people probably wouldn't. So turn it into a wine cellar, which I thought was kind of hilarious. So again, very simple tool, right? This is the idea. I've talked to a lot of folks and said, hey, have you used ChatGPT? And they're like, I don't know how to use it. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know how to use it? You just talk to it, right? It's just a chatbot, but it's new technology, right? And if you can help someone access new technology, they are very curious about this stuff, right? They want to see how it works. We're seeing people click on these links at much higher rates just because they're curious, right? And it simplifies the process. So here you go, right? You've got you can highlight the family-friendly community, give some ideas on how to do that. Host a neighborhood open house. That's a pretty standard one, right? Feature local landmarks, create this drone video with some suggestions on what to feature. Let's see, run a contest on a local radio, leverage local events. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff in here, and it's going to give a range of somewhat more standard type marketing all the way to more creative type marketing, right? So sometimes the things in here you'll see, you're like, wow, I've never even thought about trying that before. But you can imagine for somebody who's thinking about selling their house, this is the sort of thing they come in, they try, they go, wow, those are some interesting ideas, right? They're not real estate agents. They don't have any idea how to market a home. And then guess what? You're the one that provided this tool, right? Again, at the bottom, there's that same sentence, right? I definitely recommend working with Nick Niehaus. If you're thinking about selling your home, here's the contact information to get in touch. Third example here we're going to talk about is a home staging assistant. So let's say we got 5 bedrooms, get kind of crazy here, 3 full baths, a huge kitchen, and 3-car garage, walkout basement. All right. And again, I'm literally just making this stuff up as we go. And I'm going to continue to say St. Louis because, again, that's where I live. Keep things simple, right? So we submit that one. Now, you don't need to have all 3 of these on your website. And again, if you're looking at this going, these are kind of interesting, but I'd love to have this other kind of tool, let me know in the chat right now, right? So if there's something else that you would like to be able to build, I want to hear your ideas, right? That's kind of part of the point of doing this is, I can build all kinds of these tools, right? I can build almost anything we can imagine. If you think there's something better that would be more attractive to your ideal customer, let me know. In fact, I personally think doing something like an event recommender, right? Or a tool that's going to help somebody, prepare for their workouts or something, right? Like that could be better for you because it's going to help you start conversations with the kinds of people that you want to have as customers, right? So in this third example, again here, it talks about, highlighting what you should do in the living room, the kitchen, all the bedrooms. One of the things that you'll sometimes say is like, look, if you got that many bedrooms, you might want to sort of stage them so that one's a home office, right? Because there's so many of them. So it interprets this information pretty darn well, right? So this is pretty high level type AI technology, all right? Okay, so those are the 3 tools, right? So you get an idea of how these work. Next, what I'm going to do, and again, we are moving quickly here today, so this is my additional warning for you before we move forward, and I do want to check the chat as we're going here. So let me see if I have any questions so far. Yeah, the recording is available usually on YouTube afterwards. And then is this part of the software system for developing? Is part of this software a system for developing an internet lead? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I mean, this is what you're seeing is all I've built. Okay, so this is I custom built this stuff. This is brand new. This is not a marketing platform, right? If you have a CRM, if you have the ability to send more emails as follow-ups, you're going to want to use that, right? This is just a tool. It's just a lead magnet, right? I want you to think of this just as like, okay, let's say I ran an ad and say I have a list of homes that are for sale under $500,000 in this area. If you want to copy, fill this out and I'll send it to you. This is the same kind of idea, right? I have an AI Neighborhood Matchmaker. If you want to copy, sign up here. I'm going to send it over to you and you can use it. And it's going to tell you where you might want to live in this area. And really, you can use it in any area. Or I would recommend if you do develop one of these, you have it pre sort of built to only talk about your area where you do business, right? You don't need to be recommending people in cities that are halfway across the country. you want to be focused on your local area, or if you want to get referral leads, right? You want to make some money as a referral agent, you can, right? You can do whatever you want here. That's what's kind of cool about it. So next, what I'm going to do is let's kind of walk through. I'm going to skip ahead a little, and I'm going to show you just how I would market this, right? So here's what I did. I mean, this is pretty high level AI stuff because I think this stuff's really cool. I love working with it. So I built this tool out. We'll come back to how in just a moment. And what I did next is I went over into one of the AI image generators, right? This is called Midjourney. So if you've never used it before, it basically just, it makes images, right? It makes art, makes stuff, whatever you tell it you want, it's going to make. Now, one other thing I did is I actually trained ChatGPT to write these descriptions. So I just came in and said, I want something that's going to work for my neighborhood AI matchmaker. And it created this, it's called a prompt, right? So it created this prompt. I put it into Midjourney, and these are the images that I got, right? Now, this is something I just sort of put together. I didn't put a lot of time into this. I could sit here for an hour or two, and I could probably get it to make something that's just super, super interesting. But the idea is I wanted something that showed neighborhoods and that also had sort of a technology aspect to it, right? It sort of indicated, hey, there's some tech behind what you're going to see here. And so what it did is it generated these 4 images, right? Midjourney is kind of cool because it makes you 4 different versions. And then you can say, you know what? I really like that one. I really like this one. For example, let's say this one down here I really like. I click on this U3. And again, this is not a demo on how to use Midjourney, okay? So if you don't know how to use this and this is confusing, we're not going to have time to go any deeper. I'm just sort of giving you a quick overview. But you click on that, and then at the bottom here, it's going to start generating a higher quality version of that image, right? So that's kind of cool. So what I did, and I'll take a step further. So once you get these images, right, and the idea here is these are just eye-catching. They're just sort of something unique you can put out on social media, put out into Facebook groups, right? Share on your own personal profile. And so they're going to grab attention. Now, I could just make a post, throw that image on it, and hopefully they understand what it is. I decided to take it a step further, and I'd recommend doing the same here. Jumping over into Canva. Canva is really cool. They actually just released some new AI features themselves. I didn't use their features for this, but I hypothetically could have. And all I did is I just added this overlay that says, try the new AI Neighborhood Matchmaker, right? You can say whatever you want. That's going to be up to you. But now I have this graphic that I can download and I can post all over the place, right? So I can go onto Facebook. I can put it in my email. I can give this. Here's a really cool thing. I can give this to my referral partners, right? I can say, look, I've got this really cool AI tool. No one else has it. You're going to look really cutting edge by sharing this. Here's the graphics. Here's the landing page. Get out there, promote it. And obviously, that's going to help them get some referrals in return. But remember, it's your tool, your opt-in page. It's going to recommend you and your contact information at the bottom every single time. So it doesn't really matter where it gets shared. Obviously, it's ideal if it's in your sort of target market. But this is the kind of stuff that is really, I mean, honestly, AI makes this incredibly simple. It is remarkable how quickly you can do this. Generating that image took me about 5 minutes. Putting this overlay on it and saying, try the new AI Neighborhood Matchmaker, that took 2 minutes inside of Canva, right? And now I have something that looks, I mean, it's not perfect, and I could do more work on it, I'll admit that. But I have something that looks like a piece of professional art. Now, I do want to address, I mean, there's some controversy there, right? We're not getting into the controversy around AI, the fact that this was trained on someone else's art in order to be able to do this. But if you're going to use these tools, this will obviously give you an advantage, right? There are not a lot of agents that are putting this kind of stuff out there. So we take this image, right? In fact, well, I won't download it right now, just to not want to waste any time. But we take this image, and then we get out there and we promote the tool, okay? So let me go back to how you build the tool. That's probably the most important part of this training. And I also want to answer some questions as we go, because I know this stuff can be a little bit overwhelming. So here's what's really, really cool about this, all right? I did not write any of this code, okay? This is ChatGPT. So if you are a user of ChatGPT, if you've ever used it before, you can get to the point where you can create these kinds of tools yourself, all right? Now, here's what I would do. I'm just going to kind of, again, this is an overview. We can't go through every single technical detail in 40 minutes, but I'm going to give you a start here. What I would do is I would create a new chat. And what's really interesting about ChatGPT is that I can tell it how to behave, right? So you can say in here, I want you, let's just say like, I want you to act as my code developer. I'll give you example code, and I'll show you where to get that example code. Man, I can't type when I'm live on screen, right? It's always harder to type things out. I'll give you example code, and you will develop new code based on it. Okay, so let me give you kind of an example of how this works, and I'm going to show you how to do this sort of from scratch, right? So that you can develop whatever kind of tool you want. Here is a website. I'm going to actually go ahead and copy this link over to you. This is another tool I built myself a while back. I'm going to put this link in the chat there, okay? And now that I'm in the chat, I'm going to read the questions that we might have. Let's see, AI to help parents with school selection. Yeah, there you go, right? I mean, that's a great one. I love that idea. So not so much customer facing, but sounds like this could be tweaked to create a more defined listing description generator, like I'm sure many. Yeah, exactly. You can make whatever tool you want, right? So I mean, we have, for instance, in my business, business video school,